Hi, me again. Just wanted to go ahead and dive into some of these. We're getting a good backlog, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I wanted to stress something. With the last video that I made, some people got the impression that I was getting angry, and to a certain extent, I was. I don't like people making judgments about my intelligence level or calling me ignorant because I don't agree with them. I listen to people that I don't agree with all the time, and even when I think I know something, I'll go back and research it just to make sure. So someone hit a nerve with me on that one, and I don't want people to think that I'm not going to answer questions on theology. I will when I can. If I know about it or it's something that I can easily research, I'll be more than happy to do that. And if it's something that I don't know demonstrably and I'm not confident that my opinion is the right one, I'll go ahead and throw a link or two in the description for you for your use. But yeah, in general, things are going well. Been getting a lot of great feedbacks on the pop-ups, and I'm sort of shying away from those just for time purposes now. But let's go ahead and dive in. We've got one for Ask a Psychologist. Maria would like to know, is it normal for people to hide clinical depression? And that's kind of an interesting question. Now, first off, normal, I'm going to have to go with common or healthy, but I'll say normal. But just remember, when I say normal, I mean that because there's really no such thing as normal, I guess. I'm rambling. But the idea behind it is when you're feeling bad, that's perfectly healthy to feel bad. Everyone does from time to time. Clinical depression in particular is when it goes too far, or it's persistent or prevalent, or includes things for too long or too serious. Like clinical depression is a psychological term that we use for things that include like sleep pattern changes, uh, substantial increase or loss of weight, fatigue, lack of motivation, feelings of emptiness, and if that goes on for a while, that's definitely problematic. But the key one to watch out for is thoughts of thoughts of suicide or suicidal actions, and the one that gets underscored a lot there is thoughts of suicide. Um, the thing with that is a lot of people who have clinical depression don't realize it because they don't actually intend to do anything about it. They're more along the lines of they just don't think it would be that bad if they died, and that's where help needs to be done. But the question actually is it normal to hide that? And the answer is yes. In a lot of cases, what you'll see is someone who really feels worthless. They feel guilty for whatever reason, and it can be a situation where they don't want to bother anyone else, or they genuinely believe that no one cares. That's something where it makes it kind of hard to open up and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about this." Um, that's why the onus is sometimes put on the loved one or the friend. Uh, and phrasing is everything. Words are important. The idea being, if you ask them, "Would you like to talk about it?" the answer is going to be no. They don't want to deal with the problem that they have. They don't want to burden you with it, and they don't want to have a conversation where they'll get more pity because pity isn't what they want. They want help. They want to feel better, but it's something where I usually recommend if you see someone that you think is going through any of these symptoms, and I will throw a link up with a symptom list. Uh, it's something where you don't want to say, "Do you want to talk about it?" What you want to do is you say, "I would like to talk to you about it. I'd like to talk to you about what's going on." And if I seem a little bit overly serious about this, the term worth it is really big to people when they're in a depressive state. And honestly, every person has value. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you've done, I don't care how you feel. You have value. And if you're keeping it to yourself, you're depriving everyone around you from being able to interact with you and make it better. And on that basis alone, The short answer to it is yes, and the reason why is because they don't want to seem crazy or burden everybody, or they just don't think that they merit the attention. And the right word at the right time can literally save someone's life. And I, I, I go back to this constantly. A lot of drug companies make people who have depression feel like whiners because they get on TV. If anyone's ever experienced any of these symptoms, and they'll list them off. And to be honest, if you've never experienced any of those, you're a mutant. You know, everybody gets sad. Clinical depression, even when it's on the clinical level, it can go away on its own. But that's not something to bet on because you're betting your life. Now, if someone who's watching this is suffering from these symptoms, up to, and especially the one that's most important, is the thoughts or actions related to suicide. Even if it just seems a good idea for a little while, get some help if you can. Talk to someone you trust. It doesn't need to be a psychologist. It doesn't need to be a psychiatrist. You may not. You probably won't need meds. The thing that you have to understand is you have to give someone the opportunity to say no. You have value to me, and that's important. And lifting someone up who you love or care about, even if it's just on a religious or personal level, that weighs very little, and it gives the person an opportunity to feel good for helping you. And everybody needs help from time to time. And if it turns into something where you do need medical intervention and money's an issue, you can go into an emergency room and say, I'm having suicidal thoughts, just thoughts, and they will get you help. They will give you an opportunity to work with someone, and it's not based on your ability to pay. It does get pricey, but again, there's no amount of money I can think of that's worth one human life. A human life is so important, and if you feel like there's no alternative, there always is, and there's always a way to make things okay. And even if it's not, you can redefine okay. But that's fundamentally your way of looking at life and going, I quit. And there's no need for that. There's someone who either does care about you or would if they were given the opportunity. And that's a guaranteed. We're very social creatures by nature. And it's something big. It's quite normal for someone to hide clinical depression, either out of shame or a feeling of martyrdom, or, or just the whole thing of I've got to be strong for everyone else. And if it's getting to the point where they're trying to hide it and it's seeping through the cracks, that's where it's actually reaching a dangerous point because they're starting to slip. Um, so yes, Maria, it is normal for people to do that because no one wants to be termed as crazy. But the idea behind it is convince that person if you know someone who you think may be hiding it. And even if you're wrong, worst case scenario, hey, I'd like to talk to you about what's been going on in your life. What's shaking with you? Worst case scenario, you'll get a boring story and maybe a slideshow of their vacation. Ooh. Best case scenario, you could literally be saving someone's life just by showing a touch of concern. So that's actually a really good question. I don't have a segue for this, but our sponsor is exoticenvy.com. They're an adult superstore. If you're over 18, go check them out. But again, I implore you, needing help is not a sign of weakness. Getting help is a sign of strength. So if anyone's watching this and they feel like they may be fitting this category, I'll go ahead and encourage you to try to talk to someone that you trust. And if you don't trust anyone, then maybe you need to look a little bit harder. And again, right down there in the description section, there's going to be a little blurb about clinical depression. And thanks very much. I'm going to be doing a couple more of these. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day.